it right there. Where are you scrolling to? You know, say wetin I wan teach you evidence choke. E choke say love and dollar sabi when it comes to gown matter. And you wan scroll. Come on, watch this video to the end. You know, that's just for play and just to gain your attention. If you like what you're seeing right here, I made it myself, oh, and I'm going to teach you. So if you want to learn how to make something like this, make sure you stick to the end, like the end though. So make sure you watch this video to the end, and when you're done watching, ensure to subscribe. Smash that subscribe button, please like, and leave a comment. I'm begging you, please. Thank you. I've gone ahead to cut out my patterns on my fabric, and this is what we have. I didn't add any allowance to the side seam because when I was drafting the pattern paper, I added 1 inch stitching allowance. I just added allowance to the sides where I'm going to be passing my boning through, my boning channels. I'm starting with my center front. Recall that there is going to be a channel in the middle of my center front. So I'm just going to sew it all through. And this is it when I was done sewing it all through. The next thing I'm going to bring now, I'm going to bring in my side front. This is my side front. I'm just putting the pattern paper so that you would see what I am doing and how I am going to place it. So I'll take them and put them on each side, right sides facing each other like this. Place each of these sides right sides facing each other and take it to the sewing machine and sew along, keeping in mind the allowance that you gave. For me, I gave almost 1 inch allowance, and this is what it looks like when I was done sewing each of the sides. I've gone ahead to iron it down, and don't mind the fold. You know that phrase, it looks ugly before it's beautiful? This is what this is. It's time for me to work on my back pattern. I'm still placing my patterns on my fabric because I want you to know the direction which everything is going. I set aside my side back and I brought in my center front. I removed my pattern paper. Okay, see the way I'm just narrating is the way I say they do them. I opened it up, and I want you to note that you cannot sew this without your loops. I already have my loops. I use the buba bias for my loops. I have 16 of them, 8 on each, 8 on one side, 8 on the other side, making it a total of 16. I'm going to be leaving ½ inch on each side of the top, and I'll also leave ½ inch on each side of the bottom. This is so that when I want to join the linings to the main fabric, I would have allowance to sew it through. I'm also going to leave ½ inch at the bottom too to enable me join my skirt part, the skirt part of my gown. I'm marking 1.1 inch. That is going to be the distance between one loop and another. I marked it on this side and I also marked it on the other side, and luckily for me I had a total of 8 on each side. It's just like I've planned this, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Wow. And I have a total of 16. Actually I have 17. I cut one extra because anything can happen. Okay, so I'm going to fold them. I'm going to fold each of the loops like this, and the part that is on the fold is the part that is going inward. So I'll take my pin and use it to pin it down. These pins I'm using to pin it down, they were not as effective as I had thought, because when I took this to the sewing machine, it was shifting because the material they draw. The material it draws. So what I did to the other side was that I just went ahead to use my needle to sew them. I know it was stressful, but I got to do what I got to do to achieve perfection. So after placing my loops on the part I marked, I took my side back, and I placed it right sides facing each other on each point, and I sew using ½ inch because that is the inches I gave originally. That's what I planned that I'm going to use to sew it, ½ inch. When I'm done sewing it, it's going to look this beautiful. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have when I was done, and I went ahead to do the same thing for the lining, excluding the loops. Okay, so now I'm going to be setting that aside and working on my cup. I cut lining of different color and texture for this. This is because I did not want it to be too thick, and I did not have the pink color lining at this point. That's why I'm using the black color lining. Okay, so I'm just going to place it right side facing each other and sew on the edge and leaving ½ inch because that is where I'm going to be putting the loop through at the top. I've sewn it already, and as you can see, I didn't sew all the way to the end. There is little space for my to pass my loop through. So the next thing for me to do now is to open it up and top stitch. I'm top stitching facing the lining side. This is because it's a different colored fabric and I don't want the black to be showing. But if you're using the same texture, the same color, you can choose to not top stitch. Now I'm done top stitching, and this is what I have. As you can see, when I close it up, you see that the black is not showing at all. Okay, now I'm going to turn my cup to the wrong side, and I'll sew at the top of my cup all the way to the end. Follow the direction of my hand. This is what I had when I was done sewing the top. I can say it's a good thing that the thread color is showing on my lining part, so you could see clearly what I'm doing. I'm going to open it up like this and also top stitch towards the lining side so that my black will not be coming out at the top of my cup. So this is what I had when I was done. I've already gone ahead to give it a good press, and so far so good. I'm loving what I have, and that is the space that we gave so that will be able to pass our loop through. I'm going to sew the channel using half of an inch. You can use less or more, but it's advisable to just use half of an inch or anyone that you think that the rope will fit in properly. This is the channel that I created. This is where I'm going to be passing my rope through, and the exercise I have underneath it, I'm going to go to my sewing machine and stitch it up. The next thing I'm going to do now, I did the same thing for the other cup. The next thing I'm going to do now is to sew on the bottom the way you see me describing with my hand. So I'm just going to sew at the bottom so that I'm going to hold my fabric and my lining in place. It will not be going here and there. This is what I have, and this is what you should have when you are done. You can see the front and you can also see the back of my cup. The next thing for me to do now is to sew loose stitches at the bottom also. Okay, go to your machine and sew loose stitches. When you are sewing, make sure you don't cover the channel you made at the top. Okay, when you are sewing on your machine, make sure you set your machine to sew loosely, not tight. But my machine is so tight stitches, it doesn't sew free stitches. That's why I'm using my thread, my hand needle, to make my to thread it all around so that I'll be able to draw my thread to make gathers the way I'm showing you on the screen. I've gone ahead to pass my rope through my channels. After passing your rope through your channels, you are going to make sure that you stitch the edge in place so that when you draw the rope will not be coming out. Okay, you are going to stitch the edge the way I'm directing with my arrow. So after that, we are going to drag the bottom of our stitches we made at the bottom. You are going to drag it like this to make a gathering so that it will pop, it will form into a cup. Okay, please, so don't blame me that I'm struggling. It's actually not easy to explain when you are not seeing the people that you are explaining it to, so you have to make sure that they understand it. And you are going to make sure that most of the gatherings, they are at the center. They are at the center of your cup. The next thing to do is to attach the cup to the shirt. At the top, on the center front of our pattern, you are going to go down by 1 inch and do the same thing for the other side, going down by 1 inch. That is where our cup will be starting from, so that we'll be able to join our lining to the front shirt. I'm just tying one side of my thread so that I will be able to control it on one side of the cup. So as you can see, I'm placing the cup right sides facing each other exactly after the 1 inch half inch allowance that I went down by. So I'm going to pin it all around, and like I said before, we are going to ensure that most of the gathers are on the center. Continue doing that till you get to the end. When you are doing this process, make sure to be careful. You can decide to pin it down, or you can decide to go directly to your sewing machine and sew. So when I'm done, I went ahead to stitch it down. this is my third day making this video, and so far so good. I am loving the progress I'm making, but come on, I'm tired. I'm using 3 days to shoot a video, so better like this video. Now I found an easy way to do it, okay, to make sure that your gathers are, okay. You are going to place it on the center front like this. You are going to first of all place it on the center front and make sure that it's lapping the other one, so that you're not going to have any form of opening. I'm going to pin it down with my needle pin. Actually, I'm pinning it down with my pin. I'll go over to the other side and also pin it down before making the gathers that I want to make. After pinning down both ends together, this will enable us to determine how far we want to drag it, so that we are not going to have excess at the top or excess at the middle. This is me reminding you of what I've previously said. Ensure that most of your gathers are in the middle. I'm just going to go ahead and pin it down and make sure that my gathers fit exactly to the cut I made on the shirt. So if you look closely at what I'm doing, sorry guys, I had a call from my mom. See, so let's proceed with what I was saying. What was I saying? Okay, so if you look closely at what I'm doing, you will see that I move the cup up a bit, because if I'm to place the cup exactly where my shirt is, the cup is going to be too big. So instead of me to cut it out, I will lose the gathers that I already have. That's why I didn't cut it. So I just decided to shift it up a bit, so that I would have something that looks like this. I don't want a big cup, because I don't have big breasts. I don't know how come that is now big. Okay, so this is what we have, and I'm telling you, I didn't expect this to turn out this beautiful. Maybe because I took my time to do it. This is my third day, so obviously I took my time to make sure that I do everything well, and I'm hoping that it comes out perfectly well. So when I'm done sewing on the sewing machine, I'm going to trim off the excesses I have on my cup area. You know that phrase, it's ugly before it's beautiful? This is what this whole process is. Come on, this is looking beautiful. This is what I had when I was done sewing, and this is the back. Okay, now I'm going to trim off the excess I have. I told you I'm going to trim it off initially, so I'm just going to trim it off now. So my loves, this is the back, and when I turn it over to the front, it's looking sumptuous, sweet. This is my fourth day on this project, and to you it's just few minutes. Hopefully I'm going to finish this today. To line in your shirt, it has to be right sides facing each other, but you are going to bend the cup area down and pin the lining on the center of your cup, right sides facing each other like this. You are going to start pinning from the middle point like you see me do on the screen, and work your way all through to the top of the cup. A tip I want to let you in is that when you want to sew, start from the top of the cup straight down to the middle, and start over from the other top of the corner, maybe left or right corner, and sew till you get to the middle. I hope I'm clear. With the directives I have on my screen, I know that you'll be able to understand it. This is what I have when I was done. Once you are done with that, you go over to your armhole and cover them up with your lining like this, just the way you see me do on the screen. Sew a straight line all through and bend them right sides facing each other and sew. I am done with that. If you look closely at my cup region, you will see that I made another stitch on top of my cup. This is totally optional. You don't have to do this, but I just wanted to do it. So the next thing I want to do now is to join my sides together. Bend them over right sides facing each other, and go to your sewing machine and sew for the left and right side. And this is what I have. This is what yours should be looking like, even more beautiful anyways. So you can see the back and you can see the front. I'll go to my sewing machine and match on top of my bottom part. Fixing the lining to the back is quite simple. Right sides facing each other, go to your sewing machine and sew first on top. I'm done sewing And the next thing for us to do now is to top stitch. You can see when I open it up, if I want to bend it, it won't bend easily except I iron it. And now you can see the reason why I went down by 1 inch before placing my loops. The next thing for me to do now is to top stitch. And remember, when you are top stitching, you have to top stitch to the lining side. I am done top stitching, and you can see how easily it bends to the front and the lining moves to the back. Okay, now after giving it a good press, we are going to have a perfect finish. I'm going to open it up and proceed to sewing the sides. And when I'm done sewing the sides, I'll come down and sew on the bottom to pin it all down. This is the front and back of my shirt. As you can see, I've matched the bottom of the front and I've matched the bottom of the back also. This is just that I will hold it in place for whatsoever I want to do next. The next thing I want to do now is to join the back front and my front together only on one side, because I'm going to be adding an invisible zip to the other side. So I'm going to align it on one side and sew 1 inch. This is what I have when I was done. And the next thing I'm going to do now is to sew my channels where I'll be passing my boning. When you are sewing, make sure that your channels are as wide as the boning you are going to be using, because there are big bonings and there are small boning. You are going to sew your channels on the 3 sides you have at the front and the 2 sides you have at the back. Now when you are about to cut your boning, make sure that you cut it according to the length of your channel, but leaving half of an inch so that you're able to sew through. If you don't do this, you might break your needle while trying to sew on top. Okay, now what I'm going to do next is to burn the tip of my boning, because when I was cutting it with my scissors, it left a bit of a rough edges, so that when I'm passing it through, it's not going to drag my fabric or I'll find difficulties in moving it through my fabric. As you can see, as I have burnt the edges, I'm able to pass it through easily and freely. Don't worry about the puff you might have. A good press is the solution to that problem. Now I'm going to be working on the skirt part of this my gown. Now I have 60 inches for the width. Okay, I folded it into 4 because I want my screen to be able to accommodate it. The total width is 60 inches. You can make use of the desired length that you want. I'm going to fold the bottom and make loose stitches at the top like this. So I'm done with that. I've already made loose stitches at the top. When you're making loose stitches, make sure you do not back tack, and make sure you leave extra thread so that you'll be able to draw them. And I've also went ahead to sew to fold the bottom, and this is what it's looking like. Now I'm just going to open it up and pull on the strings. Do not pull on the 2 strings. Pull on only 1 string, because if you hold the 2 strings, it's not going to move. This is what I had when I was done, guys. I measured my entire bottom part of my shirt so that I'll get the width of my gathers. So when I was done with that, I just went ahead to sew on top of the gathers so that it will stay in place and not be going here and there. The next thing for me to do now is to fix the skirt, is to attach the skirt on my shirt part like this. I'm going to pin it down and then go over to the sewing machine and sew a straight line using half of an inch though. I'm done with that. This is what it's look like. It's looking really sweet. So after giving it a good press, everything is going to relax and it will look better than this. After that, the next thing I'm going to do is to attach my zipper. If you don't know how to fix an invisible zip, I already have the tutorial on my channel and I'm going to leave it in my description box. Before fixing the zip, I'm going to turn my gown over to the wrong side and sew a straight line with 1 inch and stop 2 to 3 inches before my waist point. Now that I'm done fixing the invisible zipper, this is what we have. And when I apply the loops at the back, it's going to snatch the waist. Okay? The stripes that I'm cutting for the ants is 3 inches wide and 15 inches long.
It's 3 inches wide because when I fold it over and take it to my sewing machine and sew with half an inch, I'm going to get a total of 1 inch for the wide width of my straps. Now I'm just going to turn it out with my scissors. You can use whatsoever you have to do this. If you have a loop turner, you can use a loop turner. If you have anything that can do the job, just make sure that it's turned inside out. That is the aim. I'm going to go over to my iron and give it a good press and make sure that the part you sew is inside and it's not on the side, so that it's not going to show. It's only going to show this front part that I'm ironing now. Now I'm going to be attaching my stripes on my gown. Like I said before, it's 15 inches long. The way you are going to be attaching it, you are going to place one end on the edge of your cup and you're going to pin it down and make sure that you sew exactly on the stitch you have on the cup, but be careful not to sew on top of the string that you have. Bend it over to the back side, and for the back we are going to place it immediately after the boning channel that you have. Pin it down, take it over to the sewing machine and run tight stitches all along those points. This is it, guys. Currently the time is 6:30 in the morning. I've been awake since, and you know how sharp my voice usually is, but for this my voice is kind of dull because this is my bedroom voice. And you want to tell me that after using 4 days to make this beautiful gown, you're not going to like, you're not going to comment, you're not going to subscribe? I will come to your house and I will find you and question you on why you would do that to me. So kindly like, kindly subscribe, kindly give me a comment, a thumbs up, just anything that will put a smile on my beautiful face this morning. I love you guys and thank you for always watching my channel. Bye.